We're recording.
We're going?
Yeah,
Where's the music?
I just hit the record because we were dicking around and thought it was fun.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Sweat Equity Podcast. The number one business comedy podcast, business comedy business podcast in the world.
Oh my God, not anymore. Ugh.
Dude, we're number one.
Not anymore. Not after that intro.
Dude, our homie Chris Beall out of Seattle, he's dropping a lot of psychology ops on us. A lot of, what was it called? Tactical empathy.
Yes. Wait, he did that to us?
Oh, he totally did it to us.
I didn't even know.
Oh, dude. We were like, let's go be friends with him. Let's go fly to Seattle. Listen to us on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, iHeart Podcast. We're on everything, man. You know how it do. This episode,
That was good.
all our sponsors are in the episode description, and I'm gonna reel right through them. Squarespace, build a website, ho.
Yeah, I need to apologize for my kids throughout this entire episode, acting like maniacs out there.
Call-
It comes through.
CallRail, call tracking. You want to track all the calls on your website and get them all recorded? Chris probably has better technology, but if you're
Got a
lowly
guy.
like us, you can do CallRail, call tracking. It's good for your marketing. And LinkedIn Premium, 2 months free. See what creepy people are looking at your profile.
Yeah.
Did you see the thing?
Now you're the creep.
Did you see the guy that hit me up in InMail? His name's
Yes.
Jeff Epstein.
Yes. Oh, you couldn't just let that go.
No, I was like,
You couldn't let that go.
man, we got a tough life. And if you want to be our BFF, subscribe to the pod, rate us 5 stars, write a review, share the show. Let's get it started with some B2B sales talk.
You did.
Hotty toddy!
Called sweat equity.
You are listening to the Sweat Equity Podcast.
Hey.
Well, sir.
All right. What are we sweating and equitizing today? That's what I want to know.
Talking some B2B sales strategies, sounds like.
I've heard
my
about
armpits.
those. I don't believe in them. B2B sales, that shit doesn't happen.
Ooh, well, I'm gonna come back to that, circle back around to that. We're going, by the way. I don't know if you got to listen to any episodes before coming on here, but you seem like a pretty busy, big time deal kind of guy.
I'm a sad sack who goes into spreadsheets and then yaps at people, and then somebody at the end says, "What was that?"
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. There's a certain type
I like
that.
a good spreadsheet every once in a while.
Yeah,
Very
you know,
handy.
try to avoid them, but I don't know. Anyway, yeah. What are we going to talk about?
We're going. We're recording, and what we try to do up front is let everybody know. We let you do the plugs. We let the guests do the plugs instead of me trying to read them incorrectly out loud.
It's really better that way.
Fantastic.
So where can
I don't
people
even have
find
any
you?
plugs.
What's that?
I don't even have any plugs, but I'll say something. Do you want me to say like who I am, or what we do, and then we move on?
We're not editing any of this out. So so we're
So
going.
so
We're live on tape.
Let it roll, baby.
Yeah.
We're live. Excellent.
ConnectAndSell.com is one of them, right?
Yeah, connect and sell. That's it. Yep.
And you had a podcast I was looking for at Market Dominance Guys.
Market dominance, guys. I think we're going to record episode 197 immediately after this.
Well,
Maybe
man.
198.
we don't want to get into a pissing contest with you, but this is 429. Not a
Most
big
people
deal.
don't get
No,
that
you
far.
guys you're for real. We were totally accidental, and I still don't want to do any more. But it seems like a rocket sled. It takes off. You can't stop it.
Yeah, no, most people don't get past 20 or so. Like, I'm going to do a podcast, and they run out of stuff to talk about.
We
Yeah.
wanted to write.
Well,
and the partner wanted to write a book, and I could it turned into a podcast.
Yeah, we've been playing around with the idea of taking these interviews and then putting them into
reverse
a
it.
book. Just so we can drop that hammer in a social situation to go, you read my book?
Right.
Exactly.
or in introductions.
Exactly. I'd chat GPT write a book out of the first 25 episodes of our podcast.
What?
And
Geez,
it got rave reviews on Amazon. Somebody called it a cheap cash grab, which I thought was excellent. I wish that were true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
the podcast.
we like those. We like cheap cash grabs.
Yeah,
we're not above that.
But the podcast game, it's a long game, right? It's not. You got to do it. The ones that are overproduced right out of the gate, they're never really good.
Yeah.
And you see you're seeing a lot more actors
I know,
start a
like
podcast because they're on
obligatory,
strike and
right,
stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was going on. That's pretty good. Let's do a raw cast.
Yeah, I like to say this is a raw dog cast.
I hate it when he says that.
We ask everybody who comes on the first time on Sweat Equity. We like to ask everybody this question: what advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. You just thought we were tank tops and sunglasses.
Yeah,
We've got one deep question we ask.
My 13-year-old son. My advice would be don't fall down a mountain when you're 14. But I don't know if I would have taken that advice.
We're gonna need some more.
We need that story, please.
It's a good one.
Up in Mount Rainier, where are we talking? Are you Seattle born and raised?
I fell down a mountain in Sierra Nevada when I was 14. Fell about 800 feet.
Whoa.
Actually, my advice would be fall down the mountain, but make sure you live. I did live, but it was by an accident. It's like it wasn't intentional.
Man.
Does that give you the energy to live life to the fullest ever since then?
It does feel like a freebie.
So maybe, maybe you don't tell your 13-year-old self about that.
You got a life.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that's a good point.
You know.
See, that's why this is such a great podcast.
Oh,
you guys are on 8,227.
Well, we want to, it's a question that it's a leading question of sorts because it'll tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Did you, I guess, a little bit of adventurous, it seems like?
Mountain climbing family?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty young to be on any kind of...
to be put in that position.
Yeah.
I had to put myself in that position. That was even better.
Well, there you go.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the desert north of Scottsdale. No people to speak of. 4 older sisters. They might have counted as people. One of them is Shelley Morrison, who works my podcast. So, okay, she's a person. And a lot of animals and a house full of books. And so I was kind of raised by animals and books, an occasional human to talk to.
I don't know. I always hate. I have 2 older sisters. I can't imagine 4. I don't know. I'd probably be like schizophrenic. But I do look at it as I am very grateful to have 2 older sisters now because it's like I have platonic female friends that a lot of guys can't really do that. And I can sit.
That's it right there.
I can sit and gab.
I have a bunch, including my wife.
Right.
Yes.
She's actually a friend. It's not platonic, but it's we can sit around and talk shop. We can talk personal stuff. We can do all that stuff. And I think it's because I was raised by women.
Oh. How long have you been married for?
This particular, so I was married twice before. My second wife passed away suddenly in June of 2019, out of the blue. No disease or anything that we knew about. And I've been married now. Helen and I have been married since July 2 of last year. Okay. So we went on a nice 9-week honeymoon. And when I met her, she was carrying a $5 billion plus quota for Microsoft.
What?
Whoa.
Now she's gone on to bigger things.
We're talking high socialite atmosphere of Seattle here. We're talking what is it? Bellingham? What is across the way? We're Microsoft.
Are you
Seattle,
geography bragging?
We're almost on an island. We're kind of near the beach where people drive, loud, fast lowriders up and down and occasional shootings. And we don't participate in the shootings. We watch them.
Wait, I'm sorry. Eric was babbling. Where did you say you are now?
We're in West Seattle.
Okay.
So we're looking out over
out
over the water to the mountains. We also have a house up in Port Townsend, Washington, which is at the end of the peninsula over on the other side of the water. Mm-hmm. And then we have another house down in southern Arizona in Green Valley.
Not too shabby, Chris. Not too shabby at all.
Let's list our houses.
We're old and we work hard.
That's great. That's good to hear. and look, Seattle is one of my favorite cities in the country. Been there about a dozen times. It's I've performed at Giggles, if you remember that, near UW, the comedy club that was a strip club that went back to a comedy club.
Giggles to Wiggles.
Yeah, that's where some guys waited for me outside, and I had to hide in the kitchen until the cops came. It was a cool comedy club.
Visit Seattle.
But you got to make the go eat Dick's, because there's a Dick's burger place in Seattle. You know, those kind of things. Chris, you know, there's a lot to pick. Like your booker sent us over some things to go through, but I want to see what's on your mind lately. And you're a CEO. You know, you're in the sales and selling kind of strategy and guidance. Is that fair to say?
Well, actually, what we do is we provide a technology that lets somebody who wants to talk to people in sales, like, you know, people that they don't know, let them push a button and talk to somebody on their list in about 3 minutes with no effort. So we've been doing it for 17 years, and it's one of a kind. It mixes AI and human beings working together so that a bunch of calls at the same time and you get connected to the target who actually answers. It's pretty magical. So you go from talking to 3-4 people a day to talking to 30, 40, 50 if you want.
So it's not humans with AI implants. We're not there.
No,
we're not there yet, right? Thank God.
Neuralink.
We got to get on Chris's good side if he's making an army of robot AIs.
So instead of Pursuit of Happiness, that movie where Will Smith's dialing numbers, like doesn't leave his hand. He has a strategy for pushing the numbers on the phone in the 70s or whatever. You have a phone auto dialer kind of system that's AI driven.
Yeah, it's both AI and human driven, because sometimes you have to talk to a gatekeeper and you have to handle all those weird phone trees and all that stuff out there. So it does everything. It'll call any number, and you give it a list of 1,000 people, 100 people, 10 people, whatever, and it knows their best phone number too. So it knows which phone number they answer on. It'll make sure that it calls that one instead of the one you provided, if that's a smart thing to do. But it's just as simple of you load the list, you say, I want to talk to somebody, you push the big green sell button, and you talk to somebody. So
it sounds like you're more on, and this is one of the bullet points we got, the data to find the numbers. Are you more on that side than really a super duper, kind of sales center kind of guy?
Well, it's more, for me personally, I actually come out of the software world. I've been building software since 1968, and that's a while ago. So right before I
was it like way easier back then?
It was harder.
Okay, that's interesting. Why was it harder? I'm curious.
It was harder because you didn't have all those subsystems to do everything for you. Now you can do no code stuff now, and it does something. There was no code back then. And if you wanted to debug and you were like reading core dumps, I'd go home sometimes with a stack of paper 7 inches high.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Sit there with a ruler and flip it over and over, looking for a pattern in the hexadecimal numbers that didn't look.
Totally. Yeah, we did that for fun when we grew up too.
Yeah, like HTML code, we've definitely been there.
Yeah,
all that stuff, like it's all the same idea where it's like one little thing is off. Where is it?
Right.
Gotta find it.
Deductive logic.
Well, it's the digital world is naturally fragile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the tiniest thing that breaks it. The analog world where we live with our 50 trillion human cells in our body, you can screw that up pretty bad, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can get up in the morning, you can hit your head, you can stub your toe, you can cut your finger. Mm-hmm. It'll be all right. You do any of that to a digital system, it's broken and it's not coming back.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, tell us about that kind of market intelligence is more of the competitive advantage for y'all.
Well, for us, the way we look at the world is this. First of all, in business to business, everybody's scared to death to buy. They don't want to recommend anything because their career's on the line. So here's my comparison. If I buy a Tesla, right? So I go buy the new Tesla. I don't have one now. I bring it home. I drive it around. And, I get this weird symptom. I'm sitting in the Tesla and like my ass starts to itch, right? It's like, what's that all about? So after a few days, say I go to the doctor and goes, hey, Chris, sorry, you got to get rid of the Tesla. You're allergic to electricity. I go, oh, allergic to electricity. Yeah, okay. Get rid of it, right? Well, what am I out? Maybe $5,000, $10,000? I'm going to make that back. I buy that same $70,000 thing for my company. I don't care who I am. I could be the CEO. And it makes the company's ass itch. It doesn't fit in. It doesn't work. That's my career. That's my kid's college education. That's my retirement. So people in B2B are scared to buy.
That's very astute.
They're scared to make a decision.
Yeah, that's self-preservation for their own career.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it creates a problem, which is you got to sell to people you don't know. You can't just sell to people you do know. And you've got to get them to trust you appropriately, by the way, because you're actually trying to help them. And the question is, how do you do that? And that's what we focus on first and foremost is, look, we're going to connect you to somebody, and it's going to be an ambush. Now what? Well, so we actually teach folks how to turn that other person's fear into trust in 7 seconds, which is all the FBI says we have. We don't have 8. We only have 7. And then how to turn that trust into curiosity and commitment so they'll actually attend a meeting and you can talk to them about what it is you do and what they might need, right? So we think the whole world of the B2B economy, the innovation economy, is stuck behind that one thing, which is getting another human being to trust you and to do it in the time you have to do it, which is only 7 seconds.
What's the 7 seconds? Is a rodeo thing? That's 8 seconds.
It's a Chris Voss thing. So Chris Voss, he wrote that book, Never Split the Difference. Everybody knows Chris Voss.
I bought that and haven't read it. It's been sitting on my nightstand.
It's worth listening to. It's a better listen than a read.
Uh-huh.
And I was at dinner one night at an event, and Chris was there at the table. I was fortunate enough to be sat at the same table as him. And I kind of approached him afterwards and said, hey, how long do we have to get trust in a cold call? Because I figure FBI hostage negotiator starts with a cold call. You gotta call the hostage taker.
First time meeting him.
So they must have studied this. And he just looked at me and he goes, 7 seconds. I said, really? Because our research says 8 seconds. He said, your research is wrong. Seconds. I said, cool. Well, so what do we have to do in that 7 seconds? I was a little flustered. He goes, that's easy. All we have to do is show that other person that we see the world through their eyes. We call it tactical empathy. And then we need to demonstrate to them that we are competent to solve a problem they have right now. And I said, well, isn't the problem they have right now me? And he said, yeah, that's why you can't fail. You hold the keys to solving the problem that's you. You can go away. Just make a deal with them.
Wow. Yeah, that's very...
My mind is racing right now. Okay, how do I use this in my life?
Man, we should have done shrooms before we did this.
No, what?
Started.
No,
yeah, no.
We wouldn't make, I wouldn't even be paying attention.
I'd be like, oh, man, I got to go think about my life for a little bit. That was like kind of psychological and philosophical at the same time. Yeah, so it's like you're the self-fulfilling prophecy solution to the own problem you created. Yes. And you have to get that across. It reminds me when I took Groundlings school improv classes. They're like, you got to do like 10 things before the lights get up. And you got like maybe 7 seconds, something like that. And it's like, wait, I have to figure out the character. I have to have some space work where it looks like I'm invisibly.
Like your time's already up while you're asking questions.
I have to have a relationship with the other person on stage. So I have to go, Dad, what do you I can't ask a question. I got to go, you can't fart in my sweatpants anymore. Something like that. We have to be in a setting, Target. You have to figure like all those things like that, right? Yeah. Right. Eventually you get good at it. So I believe you can hone this skill. I'm very interested in the delta of that 1 second difference that flustered you because you're like, we got it down to 8. And he's like, it's 7, bitch. And you're like, fuck.
What is happening in this 1 second?
Stopwatch hand was slow.
Yeah, it could have been anything. It seems
the
like
FBI
negligible.
More resources, right? They know how to study this thing. It's more important to them. They were saving lives. We're just trying to, cold call somebody, get a meeting. But
were they?
It's turned out to be the key to our whole business. We've been doing this thing for 17 years. We push a button, talk to somebody. No effort, fast. But what we found was everything came down to the skill and the will of the person holding the conversation. And we'd never expected that. What we thought is, the ecosystem will take care of it. There's trainers out there. They'll train them. Well, one of the top trainers in the world once called me up, one of the top cold call trainers. He said, Chris, your customer, XYZ, can't say who it is, He says, I just did the best boot camp ever with the best ever with those guys. And he told me how great it was, right? So I look at their numbers on a Friday because I've got all their numbers. They were doing 30,000 dials a day, setting about 65 meetings. I looked at their numbers on Monday. No difference. So that kind of thing started to wake me up to, you know what? We've got the means because we can listen to all these conversations. We can deliver them fast so you can coach them. I mean, imagine you're trying to learn something. I don't know what. You're trying to learn golf swing. And you get to swing the club twice a day. And the coach shows up at the end of the week and goes, I don't know. I think I don't like your grip. You're not going to get any better. Right? The coach has got to be there on every swing and start from the beginning with not liking your grip, or your stance, or your attitude, or whatever, and work with you a little bit at a time so you can get all the way through it. It is like improv, right? You get out there the first time, you're not very good, probably because of those 7 things and some other stuff, right? You got to get to where it's ballistic, and you have to be coached through it. So that's why we started this thing called Flight School, where we teach folks how to get the call off the ground, fly it towards its destination, deal with all the turbulence, all the special objections that come up in a cold call, like, hey, we're all set. Everybody's favorite, right? Mm-hmm. No, you're not. Yes, you are. No, you are. On the 3rd grade playground. Mm-hmm. And then how do you land that meeting? So we do that, and we do it live fire. People make money doing it. It's not like going out for training like some training class. It's live fire. You're really selling. You're doing it, and you get coached on every conversation. It's so precise. We coach folks for the first 2 hours on the first 7 seconds of the conversation.
What can you, do you have bullet points on that breakdown?
Yeah, how is it scripted? I mean, 7 seconds, how much could you learn about this other person in 7 seconds to even have a reaction to something, but this is your gimmick, so we'll hear from you.
It's
but I'm just trying to figure this out as we go.
Yeah, do you have to apologize like when I last 7 seconds in bed and go, I'm sorry, you're so hot, sorry.
Very, very, very similar. You got to throw yourself under the bed. It's like under the bus.
You look so hot tonight, sorry.
It's not that apology, but it's very close. So you do have to show them that you see the world through their eyes. So what we teach people to say, and there's a lot of ways to do this, but we teach people something that's easy to learn, which is just to say, I know I'm an interruption. Not like, I believe I might be interrupting your day. None of this putting it off on your day or any of this. It's like, I know I am a bad thing. I am an interruption, because that's how you see the world. And then you change your voice, and you change it to a voice the FBI calls playful curious. It means, come along with me. We're going somewhere fun. And you show them your problem, which is you can go away. And then just ask a simple question. It's a question of fact, actually. Can I have 27 seconds to tell you why I called? And if you say that just right, those 2 things, which only take about 5 seconds, then most people will say, sure, or you got 17 seconds, or whatever. That's the first time you learn something about them. That's how they respond to that question about the 27 seconds. Now, almost everybody calls this a permission-based opener. It's not. It's not at all. It's a trust-building opener. The purpose is to build trust through an involuntary reaction inside somebody else's brain, way down in their midbrain, where they're going to hear this and go, sure, go ahead. Now you got a problem, of course. You got to go ahead, right? But at least you got that far. You got from fear because they're afraid of you. They're afraid of you because you're an invisible stranger. I mean, think about that place you used to work, right? You step out back, there's a dark, invisible stranger is a problem. You want the lights on. Yeah. You want to see what's going on. Well, you can't turn the lights on a telephone. That person ambushes you. You're in the grip of an invisible stranger. Your heart rate goes up, your little pupils get big, your hands get a little sweaty. You don't want to admit it. Nobody wants to say they're scared. But, when you answer a cold call, it's a mistake. And you're a little bit afraid of what's going to happen next. So we want to turn that fear into trust. The fear is the springboard. The trust is where you're trying to get the energy going forward. And it works most of the time. You got to learn to do it, though. It's not easy.
So you just said answering the cold call was a mistake.
On the user end.
Right, no, I know.
He's saying that
I get that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying it's an interesting way to put it.
They already know they fucked up.
That is how everybody thinks. Everybody does think it's a mistake.
So they're
don't do it on accident.
They're vulnerable.
Damn it. Gotcha.
Yeah. They don't like the position they're in. You think of it this way. In the environment of evolution, we lived in villages. The people from the village across the river show up in the night and they're invisible and they're strangers.
We don't like them.
It's not good.
Yeah.
They're not bringing us a Bud Light.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming in to change the demographics of our village suddenly and violently. We don't like people that we don't know in the dark. And when you call somebody, hey, you're in the dark, they can't see you.
Yeah. Have you studied a lot of this psychology? It sounds like you have on like a case study kind of level, right? But this gets into tribalism. This gets into grouping, all those kind of things.
It's a very visceral reaction you're playing into.
I mean, tactical empathy is very. Or did I say that right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. That's the FBI thing.
Well, it reminds me of the pickup artist. Remember that guy?
Right.
You ever heard of that guy?
Yeah.
You're like, we took a couple things from him.
Hey, I mean, it's like it's psychologically. I don't want to say manipulating, but it's just kind of knowing what's possible and what
He's playing the vulnerability.
Right.
I think the whole strategy was to call a girl out on something she has, say something nice that's kind of backhanded in the middle of it, but be like, your hair looks, that's kind of a weird haircut, and then just kind of turn your shoulder or something.
Right.
And it plays because it plays to the vulnerability and insecurity of women out at a bar looking for men.
Sure.
And it opens up a conversation, but also it's a numbers game to him. He has no soul, so he doesn't care.
Right.
I feel like sales calls, I was just telling Eric right before we got on air, have you seen The Telemarketers on HBO yet?
No, I haven't. I didn't even know that was a thing. That sounds interesting.
He spoke very highly of it.
It's a great documentary.
He said it might be the best documentary he's ever seen.
Yeah.
Wow.
It could be recency bias.
And I do trust it. I have friends that I don't trust their movie opinions. You're like, oh, okay. But I do trust yours.
They kind of fell into
see
it.
What happened?
This kid in like 2007, who's 14, he dropped out of school and had to get a job, and he got it in this telemarketing place, and he started uploading videos to YouTube. So they have all this footage from back in the day, and it's about the scam of like the Fraternal Order of Police donations they were doing. I don't know if you've heard of that scam at all, but it's pretty gross. And then,
I've had that one played on me.
Sure.
I didn't bite, but
you didn't want the sticker to get out of a ticket that never happens because they're not affiliated with it.
Yeah.
No, I just get the ticket.
Yeah.
It's rather sad.
Well,
but the psychology is everything. B2B sales is different from B2C sales. So you're selling to consumers. As I said, they're risking their money. You're selling to businesses. That person's risking their career. It's a bigger deal than their money. They're risking their reputation. They're risking their entire future. And the easy thing to do is nothing, which is why in B2B, almost all sales pursuits end in nothing, no decision. Everybody thinks that's because, nobody was good enough, but that's not the issue. The issue is the buyer's got to trust one of the sellers more than they trust themselves because they're not the expert. You're the expert. You're the seller. So now you've got to exceed their own trust threshold. If they think that they know enough to say no, they're going to say no because they don't ever think they know enough to say yes. It's easy to say no. So B2B is much, much harder to sell than B2C. B2C is a simple risk. It's your money. And maybe if you're buying something that's going to be sort of show you off socially, clothes, a hat, whatever, then you might be a little concerned about that. But hey, if people laugh at you once, at least you can put that sucker aside. You don't have to wear it, right? But you can't put aside the fact that you bought something.
I'll never wear culottes again.
I'm not. I won't show you what I got on.
I guarantee it's not as bad as what we're wearing over here. It's still pretty hot over here in Florida. We're on the marketing side mostly of things, and I think, I don't want to speak for Eric, but I think we always kind of thought it's weird that sales and marketing are kind of separated. They point fingers at each other kind of thing.
Right.
To us, I think maybe because we're more on the digital side coming into a lot of this kind of business theory and practice and management and stuff. I just feel like it's all should be one cohesive thing and not separated groups. What the sales marketing conflict? What do you have? What kind of wisdom can you tell us about that?
Well, I got a measurement that is interesting. So we measure the pipeline that's built out of conversations. And the way we do it is our customers let our technology access their Salesforce system or whatever, and we analyze their opportunities just to ask a simple question, which is, did somebody from your company have a conversation with somebody from their company before that particular deal? Because after all, they're using our technology to have tons of conversations, right? So we map that back, and then we tell you how many dollars of pipeline at what stage of the process those deals are in. And here's what we thought. We thought, just like everybody else, hey, everything comes out of meetings. In sales, you talk to somebody, you set a meeting, you hold the meeting, you go forward, and you do demos, blah, 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 and you get to a deal. What we found is that 2/3 of all the business that comes from cold calling has nothing to do with meetings. It has to do with marketing. You talk to somebody, they go to your website. Now, why do you buy Google ads? Why do you set up SEO? Why do you do digital marketing at all?
To be
Ultimately,
found.
you want them to come to you, and then your CTA, call to action, actually appeals to them, and they take an action, right? Well, how do you get them to the website? It turns out sales and marketing converge inside the humble cold call, because in almost every case, that person is going to do two things. One is they're going to go to your website. Secondly, they're going to answer that email that you send them that says, thank you for our conversation today, which is the easiest email in the world to send and get opened. And you exit the world of spam through the door of the relationship and the cold call. So they come together right there. Marketing people don't know it because they don't listen to cold calls. Salespeople don't know it because they're myopic and they're just trying to turn them into it.
They're tapping knees and rolling calls. It's it's interesting. It's omni-channel integrated marketing, and it's different for every business's strategy, right? I always use the buy a car scenario, right? And I use this more for an offline, online kind of thing, but it's applicable to this. It's like, it's on average, it's 25 touch points till you buy a car, right? And some of that's subconscious hitting you. There's ads in the paper that you throw away, but you might see it real quick, or you might get those emails. And it kind of warms it up in your head a little bit. So 19 of them are digital, and 6 on average are offline. But they have to work together to close the sale, because the linear method of the touch points is different every time.
Yeah. Well, what we've discovered is, I don't know why this is surprising. When you start with a relationship built inside the other person's midbrain, inside their old brain, and you start with trust, everything else flows easily digitally. Digital gets cheap and effective. Digital is always cheap, unless you're paying Google. But it's not always effective. You got to have a lot of numbers out there. You got to put a lot of stuff out. It's hard to target. Who are you targeting? Well, you think you know who you're targeting, and then you find out maybe you're not quite targeting right? So imagine, not instead, but as an adjunct, like the first approach to a market, you say, well, some subset of these people, I can get on the phone. What is that subset? It's about 37%. Okay, how about if I talk to them, learn what it is that they would love to see and what we're offering. And by the way, the ones that don't want to take a meeting, because only 5 to 8% will take a meeting. I mean, the most brilliant cold callers in the world get up around 30%, but these people are geniuses. And most of them, 5 to 8% is pretty good. Well, what about the 95 to 92%? Where are they going? Well, you didn't really lose them. You had a conversation with them. They know your voice. They've heard your company's name. They've forgotten a lot of it, but that's all right. But they probably went to your website while you're talking to them. We actually are measuring this now. I'll call it forward. So we're working with a company called Signals.ai out of Utah. And we've analyzed our own company and just asked this question. We're not very happy with our website, but it seems to produce about 1/3 of our business. We don't pay Google a dime. Google told us this once, by the way. The head of advertising of Google once said to me, you're our vendor of the year, and it bothers us that you've never paid us any money. You're like the only company in Silicon Valley that's never paid the Google tax. And I said, well, we just talk to people. Right? That's what we do. What we didn't get is we just talk to people. And we're doing what a Google ad would do.
Right. Yeah,
with the human touch.
Not even that. It's even more effective because you're reaching out. It's a push versus pull, right? You're waiting for people to find with intent. That's their deal, right? They have to get intent of the user, whereas you're going out and finding that user before they may know they go to look something up with intent, right? So you kind of cut them off before they even get to that part, which is
even better too. Your big problem in B2B, and it's all sales, right, is whatever it is you're selling, they already have solved that problem. They're just solving it in a way that you think you can help them solve it better. I mean, nobody buys stuff to solve a problem they don't have. And if they have a problem, they've been solving the problem. The question is, can you help them solve it in a new way? So brand new stuff never really sells. I mean, that's what Jeffrey Moore wrote about Crossing the Chasm. You can only sell that to certain kind of freaky people. But regular people and regular businesses buy to solve a problem they already solved. It's better. And they'll only do it about once every 3 years for any product category, for any problem category. So you got a 1 quarter period for them to consider buying. You got 3 years as the replacement cycle. So that means that 11/12 of your market is not in market right now, of your perfect market, your 100% market. You're not in market. So what are you going to do about it? Well, classically, we say, let marketing nurture them. But how do you do that competitively? How is your content, your nurturing program so much better than everybody else's that you win when they come around again? Well, it's simple. Talk to them once a quarter. The only ones you're going to get to talk to are the ones who answer the phone. Thank God, once they answer the phone, you know that they answer the phone. So call them again. So we have a whole program built into ConnectAndSell where you just set it and forget it. You say, hey, I talked to Mary. Mary said, not good timing, don't want to take a meeting, going to the Riviera, whatever. Okay, I just stick a date out there, a quarter out, and say, little teleprompter, hey, Mary, when we spoke back on the 19th of September, you said you were heading to the Riviera. I hope it was a great trip. Is now a better time to talk. Suddenly you're a genius because you're doing marketing, the long-term nurture, and you're doing it with the human voice, which carries 20,000 bits a second of emotional information. And that changes the whole game. So the whole idea, the reason I got this podcast, the Market Dominance Guys podcast, is if you do it right with the human voice, it's not the cold calling that makes it work. It's the follow-up. And it's not regular follow-up because you do all the digital stuff. It's magic follow-up. You're inside their head.
Yeah.
Get somebody out of your head once they're talking to you.
You might not even have a relationship with them, but subconsciously they think they do.
They're totally obsessed with you.
Because it's familiar, right? And it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning, where everybody in self-preservation mode. You get past that, then you can follow up. Oh, I kind of know this person. I have a relationship with this person.
They're trying to help me.
Except you don't know them at all. Yeah. That's interesting. This is some really interesting stuff. I think we got to go out on that note. You might have to make some phone calls.
I got to make some phone calls.
I got to record a couple episodes of Market Dominance Guys, actually.
Well, if you ever need some scab guests to be on your podcast, we can ask all the dumb questions.
Yeah. You need some dumb guy questions?
This is great stuff, guys. I love your questions. I love your whole thing. It's a fascinating world we live in when you think about it, right? The innovation economy we totally depend on. We're not sitting in caves eating bugs. Right? Almost everything we do, we're getting out of some bunch of companies working together to make stuff happen. That's the world we live in. It's kind of made by innovation turning into products. We're talking to each other now through the most complex set of things that have ever been done. And there must be 100,000 products between you and me right now, right, that are making stuff happen. And we depend on it for our lives now. And yet the entire innovation economy is bottlenecked on that first relationship. When somebody who has a solution needs to be trusted by somebody who has a problem so that they can actually look at the solution. And that's why we're in business. That's what we're all about, is pulling the cork out of the innovation economy so some value can flow, because that's what we all need. We all need those innovations to go to market. And by the way, most of them are pretty good, and most of them fail because they don't go to market.
You got a Jedi kind of mastery of talking about this. It's very interesting. I appreciate you coming on and dispensing this wisdom. We didn't even get to the. I wanted to talk to you about the bottleneck stuff. We'll have to have you on again because I do believe the bottleneck starts above the sales funnel as well. Or you have
right above the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
You gotta know-
I'll come on anytime you guys want. You're too much fun.
all right.
Oh,
We made like what 70% less crass jokes this time.
oh, we were on our best behavior.
Yeah.
Hey, and I even offered that my ass itched.
Right. You had the Tesla ass roasting problem. What was it? An allergy to electricity. That was good.
Prolapsed anus in the
Right.
car. That's
Thanks,
all I heard.
Thanks a lot, Elon.
Thanks, Elon. Yeah. Yeah, we know each other better now, Elon.
All right,
We know each
buddy.
other better.
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
See ya.
Yeah.